you imagine all that the Apostle Paul went through, starting out as Saul, of course, and being a persecutor of the Christian church, even being a witness or an accomplice to the murder of Stephen, and then his sudden conversion, where he was temporarily blinded by the light. It's an amazing story, and then he became, I guess, probably the greatest apostle. Really, I mean, he's written the most. At least we have the most written works from him of all the apostles. And then what he endured prison as well, plus persecution, floggings, apparently, maybe death. Some say he died crucified as well. It's not certain, but seems likely. And so it's an inspiration to me, I think, of Paul's life when I compare it to mine, and some of the things I have to endure, which I too see the other reason I identify with Paul is because he was also a Roman, so he would often go back and forth between being his identity as a Roman citizen and the rights of being a Roman citizen, as in comparison to being a Christian. His ultimate, his most highest identity is as a Christian. And I often have that as well. I think of myself, I'm American here. I've lived in America all my life. I've traveled a lot overseas, even lived briefly in places overseas, various countries. But my main identity is as a Christian, not as an American. Yet at the same time, I do have some obvious allegiance as an American to my country. But if I had to choose between fellow American versus fellow Christian, I have to go with fellow Christian. Sometimes that's difficult because sometimes fellow Christians aren't always so nice, and they're not even respectful towards other Christians or even towards Americans, you know. And so it's not always easy. But I have to defend fellow Christians first. Try to support my community of believers, and I have to endure the hardships sometimes. Not nearly as hard as probably Paul had to endure, including the shipwreck he was on, and the hardships Christians endure in other parts of the world, the Middle East especially, even death. But Paul is an inspiration to me, and so I try to keep him in mind, and I hope maybe he's an inspiration to you as well. And it's a good reason to continue to read the various books written by Paul. Not just read them once, say I already read that, but try to go back and dig a little bit deeper, get a little more meaning from it every time, a little inspiration. And reflect on Paul's life if you maybe are like me and have that American identity along with being Christian, and sometimes waffling between the two. That I think try to let your Christian identity emerge more so than your American identity. And the problem for me is not that I have any ambivalence about that, but that people treat me like I'm just a regular old American sometimes, and that I think American and speak American. I don't speak English, I speak American, right? Actually, I speak Spanish too, and I studied Hebrew and Greek, and so sometimes people treat me just like the old American boy, and I'm 50 years old now. So it's not me that has an ambivalence about am I more Christian or more American. It's the way others treat you. And usually if they treat you like American, it's too often negatively rather than positively. So please pray for me in that regard. And I'll be praying for you. God be with you and bless you as I continue my mission trip, traveling across the United States again. Mission possible. Telling the good news, the gospel of Jesus Christ.